The chamber was enormous, a vast space that could hold thousands. 12 thrones rose in a circle, each one representing a species that had traveled the stars for millennia. Above them, holographic displays showed planets, trade routes, and problems that needed solving. Ambassador Taemin stood in the center, his hands folded behind his back, waiting. He had prepared for this moment for 3 months. His team had worked day and night on solutions to the galaxy's biggest problems. The data was solid. The methods were tested. He believed the council would listen. "The human speaks," announced the Valtrine Chancellor, a being that looked like flowing water held in a crystalline shell. Its voice echoed through the chamber with a tone that suggested boredom. Taemin stepped forward. He activated his presentation, and images appeared in the air around him. Honored council members, humanity offers 3 solutions. First, for the energy crisis in the Outer Rim, we propose matter-antimatter generators. They are simple to build and can be installed within 6 months. Second, for the Quillix plague, our medical teams have identified a viral weakness. We can begin treatment immediately. Third, for the piracy problem, we suggest coordinated patrol networks using our faster response protocols. He paused, looking at each council member. Some watched with mild interest. Others seemed to be looking at something else entirely. A Marinthian council member, a being covered in geometric armor plates, spoke first. "These solutions are crude. Matter-antimatter reactions are dangerous and inelegant. Surely there are better ways." "They work," Taemin said simply. "Our colonies use them. They are reliable and safe when properly maintained." The Quillix representative, a small creature with multiple eyes, leaned forward. "Your medical proposal interests us. But why should we trust human medicine? You have only been in space for 400 years. "Because our doctors have studied your biology for 10 years, Taemin replied. "Dr. Hyjin's team has worked directly with Quillix researchers. The data supports our approach." Taemin, the Valtrine Chancellor, made a sound like water flowing over rocks. It might have been a laugh. 400 years. The Valtrine have sailed between stars for 12,000 years. The Marinthians for 8,000. You are children playing with tools you barely understand. Taemin felt a flash of anger, but kept his face calm. "Age does not always equal wisdom, Chancellor. Results matter more than tradition." The chamber fell silent. Several council members shifted in their seats. No one spoke to the Chancellor that way. "Humans are arrogant," another voice said. This came from a Quillix elder. "You come to us with simple answers to complex problems. You think we have not tried these things? Your ideas are primitive. They lack sophistication. They lack sophistication because they prioritize function over appearance," Taemin said. "Sometimes the simple answer is the correct answer." The debate continued for 2 hours. Every proposal Taemin made was dismissed. The council members found reasons to reject each solution. Too simple. Too dangerous. Too expensive. Not elegant enough. Not traditional enough. The reasons piled up like walls. Finally, the Valtrine Chancellor called for a vote. Humanity requests greater participation in council affairs and expanded trade rights. They offer these proposals as evidence of their value. All in favor of granting their request? 2 hands rose out of 12. The Quillix researcher who had worked with Hyjin voted yes. So did a smaller species that rarely spoke. All opposed? 10 hands rose. "The motion fails," the Chancellor announced. Furthermore, the Council votes to reduce human representation. "Your current privileges are deemed excessive for such a young species. Your trade rights will be limited to Sol system and immediate neighbors. Your embassy staff will be reduced by half. This is the will of the Council." End quote. End quote. Taemin stood very still. Behind him, he heard his aide gasp. This was worse than rejection. This was expulsion, in all but name. He took a breath. When he spoke, His voice was quiet but clear. I see. The Council has made its decision. You may appeal in 10 years, the Chancellor said dismissively. Perhaps by then, humans will have matured enough to contribute meaningfully. Taemin looked around the chamber one last time. He had spent 20 years of his life here. 20 years building relationships, learning customs, trying to find humanity's place among the stars. He thought of all the humans across the galaxy who believed in this dream of cooperation. Honored Council, he said slowly. Humanity came to the stars in friendship. We offered what we could. We learned from you. We tried to help where help was needed. If our presence is unwelcome, if our ideas are too primitive, if our species is too young to have value here, then we will not impose ourselves. He bowed, a formal human gesture. We wish the Council well. May you find the elegant solutions you seek. He turned and walked toward the exit. His footsteps echoed in the silent chamber. That is all, the Chancellor called after him. No protests? No demands? Taemin stopped but did not turn around. What would be the point, Chancellor? You have made your position clear. We understand it. There is nothing more to say. He left the chamber. His aide, a young woman named Mi-sun, hurried after him. Sir, what do we do now? We go home, Taemin said. We tell Earth what happened. And then, we respect the Council's wishes. But sir, our colonies, our people out there, the trade agreements, the research stations, will all be shut down, Taemin said firmly. If we are not wanted here, Mi-sun, then we leave. Completely. Quietly. With dignity. Behind them, in the council chamber, the members were already moving to the next item on their agenda. The human matter was settled. They had more important things to discuss. In her laboratory on Quilix IV, Dr. Hyjin received the news 3 hours later. She stood in the middle of her research facility, surrounded by equipment and test samples. Her Quilix assistant, Thex, stood beside her. I don't understand, Thex said, his voice small. We are so close to a cure. Another month, maybe 2. Why would they send you away? Hyjin began shutting down her equipment. The Council has decided humans are not needed. We must respect that decision. Mani, but the plague, Thex whispered. My people are dying. I know, Hyjin said softly. I am sorry. Perhaps your own researchers can continue the work. In the outer rim, Captain Donghyun stood on the bridge of his ship, reading the same message. Around him, his crew waited for orders. Sir? His first officer asked. Donghyun looked at the star map, showing their patrol routes. Routes they had protected for a decade. Prepare for withdrawal, he said. All ships return to Sol system. Inform all human vessels in the area. We are going home. The word spread quickly through human communities across the galaxy. In stations, colonies, research posts, and ships, humans began to pack. No one argued. No one fought. They simply prepared to leave, efficiently and quietly. The galaxy barely noticed. 6 months passed like water flowing downhill, steady and inevitable. Across the galaxy, humans packed their belongings and went home. The evacuation was unlike anything the galaxy had seen before. When other species left the Council, they made noise. They threatened. They gave speeches about injustice. They sometimes even attacked Council stations on their way out. Humans did none of these things. They simply filed the proper paperwork, paid their outstanding bills, and departed on schedule. On the mining station Kepler 442, Young-Sik supervised the loading of the last human cargo ship. He had run supply routes to this station for 15 years. He knew every corridor, every docking port, every maintenance access tunnel. Now he was leaving forever. A Marinthian dockworker approached him. Young-Sik, is it true? All humans are leaving? Yes, Young-Sik said, checking his cargo manifest. Council orders. We need to reduce our presence outside Sol system, but who will deliver to the outer stations? the Marinthian asked. You are the only hauler who goes to the unprofitable routes. The big companies will not serve those places. Young Sik shrugged. That is not my problem anymore. Perhaps the council will find someone else. There is no one else, the Marinthian said quietly. Those stations will be abandoned. Young Sik paused. He had friends on some of those remote stations. Good people who depended on regular supply runs. He felt a pang of guilt. But what could he do? I am sorry. My government has recalled all civilian contractors. I have no choice. He climbed into his ship and launched. As he entered faster than light travel, he looked back at the station one last time. He wondered if he would ever see it again. On Quillix IV, Dr. Hai Jin was shutting down her laboratory. Every piece of equipment had to be cataloged, cleaned, and prepared for transport. Her research data was backed up in triplicate. Nothing would be left behind. Vex worked beside her in silence. They had been partners for 3 years. Together, they had mapped the plague virus's structure. Together, they had tested hundreds of potential treatments. They were so close to success. Another month, He-Jin estimated. Maybe less. Take the research data, He-Jin said suddenly. Continue the work. You know the procedures. I cannot, Vex said. The equipment, the techniques, they are human-developed. Our medical philosophy is different. I do not understand the underlying principles. He-Jin wanted to argue but could not. The human approach to medicine was fundamentally different from galactic standard practice. Humans believed in simple, direct interventions. They treated symptoms aggressively while supporting the body's own healing. Other species preferred complex, elegant solutions that worked with multiple biological systems simultaneously. I could teach you, He-Jin offered. The Council forbids sharing human medical technology, Vex replied bitterly. They say, it is too primitive to be worth learning. But I have seen it work. I have seen it save lives that our methods could not save. They worked in silence for another hour. Finally, the laboratory was empty. He-Jin took one last look around. So much effort, so much hope, all packed into boxes now. I will miss this place, she said. I will miss working with you. Vex. And I you, Vex replied. His multiple eyes were damp. Your people should not be leaving. This is wrong. Perhaps, He-Jin said, but it is what the Council wants. On Altair the Sixth, a human colony world shared with several other species, Sujin taught her last class. Her students were a mix of species, young children learning basic education together. She had taught here for 8 years. She loved these children. Teacher Sujin, a small Valtrine child asked, its crystalline body barely reaching her waist. Why are you leaving? Because I must go home, Sujin said gently. All humans are going home. But this is your home, another student protested. You live here. Not anymore, Sujin said. She tried to keep her voice steady. The Council has decided that humans should stay in their own part of space. So, we are going back to Earth and the other human colonies. That is stupid, a Marinthian child announced. The Council is stupid. Hush, Sujin said, but she smiled a little. The Council is very wise. They have been making decisions for thousands of years. Then why are they making you leave? The Valtrine child asked. Sujin had no good answer for that. She finished the lesson, gave each child a hug, and walked out of the classroom for the last time. Behind her, she could hear some of the children crying. She cried too, but only after she was alone. In the outer rim, Captain Dong-hyun oversaw the final withdrawal of human military vessels. For 10 years, Earth's fleet had patrolled these trade routes. They had fought pirates, rescued stranded ships, and maintained order in a region too far from Council space for effective protection. All ships accounted for, his first officer reported. We are ready to depart. Any final communications? Donghyun asked. Several messages from local stations thanking us for our service. A few asking us to reconsider. One from a merchant guild asking who will patrol the routes after we leave. Forward that last one to council headquarters, Donghyun said. Let them figure it out. As the fleet prepared to jump, Donghyun looked at the tactical display. The outer rim stretched across hundreds of light years. It was a vast, dangerous area. Human patrols could only cover a fraction of it. But that fraction had been enough to keep most pirates away. What do you think will happen here, sir? His first officer asked. Chaos, Donghyun said simply. The Valtrine fleet is skilled, but they are spread thin. They cannot cover this area effectively. Piracy will increase. Trade will suffer. Should we warn them? We did warn them, Donghyun replied. In Ambassador Taemin's presentation to the council. They did not listen. That is not our problem anymore. The fleet jumped to faster-than-light speed. Behind them, the outer rim grew darker. Across the galaxy, the pattern repeated. Human trading posts closed. Medical stations shut down. Research outposts evacuated. Embassy staff packed their offices. Teachers left their schools. Engineers abandoned their projects. Scientists stopped their experiments. There were no protests. No dramatic speeches. No violence. Humans simply filed the proper forms, said polite goodbyes, and left. Some aliens noticed and cared. A Quillex merchant found himself without his reliable human business partner. A Marinthian mother discovered that the human doctor, who had treated her child so effectively, was gone. A station administrator realized that the human maintenance crew had been preventing small problems from becoming large disasters. But most of the galaxy did not notice. Humans were a small percentage of the total galactic population. Their departure created gaps, but surely those gaps could be filled. On Earth, Taemin stood in his new office. He was Prime Minister now, chosen to lead humanity through this transition. His desk was covered with reports. Each one told the same story. Humans coming home. The last evacuation ship arrives next week, Mi-sun reported. She was his chief of staff now. After that, we will have zero presence outside the Sol system, except for a few private citizens who chose to stay. Good, Taemin said. How are the returnees adjusting? Better than expected. Most are angry about leaving, but they understand why. We are redirecting their talents to internal projects. Dr. He-jin is already working on new medical research. Captain Dong-hyun is training new defense forces. We have thousands of experienced people who now work only for humanity's benefit. Taemin nodded. And the galaxy has not contacted us, Mi-sun said. Not officially. A few individual aliens have sent messages asking when we will return. We respond politely that we have no plans to return. We do not, Taemin said firmly. The council made their position clear. We will respect it. We will build our own civilization, in our own way, without needing anyone's approval. Outside his window, he could see the construction of a new research facility. Another one was being built on Mars. And another on Luna. And more in the asteroid belt. Humanity was turning inward, pouring all its energy and creativity into developing its own space. The galaxy would soon learn what it meant to dismiss the humans. But by then, it would be too late to take it back. 1 year after the humans left, the first cracks began to show. In the outer rim, piracy had increased by 200%. What started as small raids on isolated cargo ships had grown into organized attacks on major trade routes. The pirate gangs had grown bold, knowing that response times were slower now. A Marinthian merchant captain named Vex sent a distress call from his damaged ship. This is cargo vessel Morningstar. We are under attack. 3 pirate ships. Our shields are failing. Request immediate assistance. The response came 12 minutes later. Morningstar, this is Valtrine patrol ship Crystalline Dawn. We are 2 hours away. Can you maintain shields until we arrive? Negative, Vex replied, watching his shield strength drop. Shields will fail in 10 minutes. There was a long pause. We are sending additional ships. Try to evade. Good luck. Vex's ship was boarded 17 minutes later. The pirates took his cargo and left him drifting in space. It was 3 hours before rescue arrived. He survived, but barely. Later, filing his report, Vex remembered the old days. When humans patrolled these routes, response time had been 20 minutes maximum. The humans had small, fast ships stationed throughout the outer rim. They could not cover everything, but they covered enough to make piracy dangerous and unprofitable. Now, the human ships were gone. The Valtrine fleet was powerful, but slow. Their ships were beautiful, efficient, and completely unsuited for rapid response patrol work. They had been designed for a different purpose. This route is no longer safe, Vex told his company. I request reassignment. All outer rim routes are now high risk, his supervisor replied. Hazard pay has been increased by 50%. We need experienced captains. All outer rim. We need experienced captains. Vex thought about it. 50% more pay. But what good was pay if he did not survive to spend it? He took early retirement instead. So did many other cargo haulers. Trade in the outer rim began to slow. On Quilix IV, the plague was spreading faster. The death count had reached 50,000. Panic was starting to spread through the population. Vex worked in his laboratory, trying desperately to continue the work that Heejin had started. He had her notes. He had the equipment. He even had some of her test samples, but he did not have her understanding. Human medical science approached problems differently. They isolated single variables and attacked them directly. Quilix medicine tried to balance multiple systems at once. The two philosophies were incompatible at a fundamental level. I do not understand this step, Vex said to his assistant, pointing at Heejin's notes. She introduces a protein inhibitor directly into the viral cell. This should cause system-wide collapse in the patient. Why does it not? Perhaps the human immune system is different, his assistant suggested. But she tested this on Quilix patients, Vex replied. It worked. I saw it work. 3 patients completely cured, but I cannot replicate the results. He had sent 6 messages to Heijin, asking for guidance. She had replied to the first 2, offering what help she could. Then her government had ordered her to stop. I am sorry, Vex. Her last message said. I am forbidden from providing further assistance. Please understand. I wish you success. That had been 3 months ago. Since then, silence. Vex looked at the data again. Somewhere in these numbers was the answer, but he could not find it. And every day, he failed. More of his people died. In the council chambers, emergency sessions were becoming common. The Valtrine Chancellor stood before the assembled members, reviewing the latest reports. The situation in the Outer Rim is deteriorating, the Chancellor admitted. Trade volume has decreased by 30%. Piracy incidents have quadrupled. Several major shipping companies have suspended operations in the region. What of our patrol fleet? A Marinthian counselor asked. Inadequate for the task, the Chancellor replied stiffly. Our ships were never designed for rapid response patrol work. We are repositioning forces, but coverage remains incomplete. The humans had smaller ships. Another counselor observed. Fast patrol craft. Dozens of them. That is how they maintained coverage. Yes. Well, the humans are gone. The Chancellor snapped. We must find our own solutions. I propose we commission a new fleet of patrol vessels. That will take 5 years minimum, the Marinthian counselor said, and cost billions. Perhaps we should consider asking the humans to return. The chamber fell silent. Finally, a Quilix elder spoke. The humans were told they were not needed, that their contributions were insignificant. How can we ask them to return now? It would be admitting we were wrong. End quote. Then, you are did. The days from abound for mutida. You are the day. You are day. You are day. You are the day. Were we wrong? A younger Quillix representative asked. It was Thex, recently appointed to fill a vacant position. He had been selected partly because of his experience working with humans. Counselor Thex, you are out of order, the Chancellor said coldly. I speak for my people, Thex replied. 50,000 dead from the plague. The human doctor was developing a cure. She was close. We sent her away because the council said human medicine was primitive. Now my people die, and we have no cure. Were we wrong? No one answered him. On Earth, in a comfortable office in New Seoul, Tae-min reviewed reports from across human space. The news was good. Very good. Mars colony has exceeded production targets by 20%, Mi-sun reported. The new research facility on Europa has made significant progress in ice mining technology. And Dr. Haejin's medical team has developed treatments for 3 previously incurable human diseases. Impressive, Tae-min said. What about the military developments? Captain Admiral Dong-hyun, reports that the new propulsion system is ready for testing. If successful, our ships will be 40% faster than before. He also mentions that morale is high. The crews appreciate working without council oversight. Tae-min smiled slightly. No committees to approve every decision. No forms to file for every action. No need to justify our methods to people who consider us primitive. Yes, I imagine morale is high. We have also received 15 messages from various galactic sources, Mi-sun continued. Mostly aliens we worked with in the past. They ask when we are coming back. What do we tell them? The standard response. We are focusing on internal development and have no plans to return to council space. Good, Tae-min said. Maintain that policy. No exceptions. Even for the Quillix? Mi-sun asked quietly. Sir Doctor, Haejin receives messages from Thex every week. He is begging for help. The plague is killing thousands. Tae-min was quiet for a long moment. I know, it troubles me. But we cannot help everyone, Mi-sun. If we help the Quillix, 50 other species will ask for help with their problems. Where does it end? We were told our help was not wanted. We must respect that. Even if people die? Even then, Tae-min said firmly. The council made a choice. Choices have consequences. They must learn that. But that night, alone in his apartment, Tae-min looked at pictures from his years as ambassador. They were celebrating a breakthrough in cross-species medical cooperation. Both were smiling. He wondered how many more would die before the council learned its lesson. He wondered if he was doing the right thing. By withholding help, he wondered if refusing to help made humans better or worse than those who had dismissed them. He did not sleep well. Across the galaxy, other problems emerged. A station in neutral territory suffered a catastrophic life support failure. It had been maintained by a human engineering crew for 15 years. The new maintenance team, less familiar with the human-designed systems, had missed a critical warning sign. 47 people died. An investigation revealed that the humans had prevented similar failures in 14 other stations over the past 5 years. Their maintenance protocols were different from standard practice but significantly more effective for certain types of systems. A Marinthian engineering firm tried to hire human contractors to train their personnel. They were politely refused. We no longer operate outside Sol system, the response said. Looks and lung. Although, the investigation report was filed and largely ignored. The council had more immediate problems to address. Young-sik, now working exclusively on routes within human space, sometimes thought about the outer stations, the ones too far from major trade routes, to be profitable. He had serviced them because someone needed to, not because it made business sense. He wondered if anyone serviced them now. He suspected the answer was no. In the council chambers, Junior Counselor Bo Ra sat quietly, listening to yet another emergency session. She was human, one of the few who had chosen to stay when Earth recalled its people. She had citizenship with an allied species and could legally remain on the council as an independent observer. She watched the council debate the rising crisis. She heard them propose elaborate solutions that would take years to implement. She heard them avoid the obvious answer that stood right in front of them. And seventh, after the session, she went to her office and submitted her resignation. "I can no longer serve an institution that values pride over practical solutions," she wrote. "I am returning to Earth." She was the last human in council space. 3 years after the humans left, the galaxy was in crisis. The Quillex plague had spread to 3 more species. The death toll across the galaxy now exceeded 2 million. Every attempt to develop a cure had failed. The research that Hyejin had started remained incomplete. Her methods too different from standard practice for other species to continue effectively. In the Outer Rim, organized crime syndicates now controlled entire sectors. They did not just rob ships anymore. They demanded protection payments from stations, controlled trade routes, and even operated their own illegal colonies. The Valtrine fleet fought them constantly, but could not win. For every pirate ship destroyed, 2 more appeared. Economic collapse threatened several worlds. Trade networks that had been optimized over decades with human participation had failed to adapt. Shipping costs had tripled. Many goods simply could not be transported profitably anymore. Remote colonies faced shortages of essential supplies. The Valtrine Chancellor had been forced to resign in disgrace. The new leadership, a coalition of younger council members, finally acknowledged what everyone already knew. They had made a mistake. "We must contact Earth," declared the new Chancellor, a Morinthian named Kex. "We must ask the humans to return." "And what do we tell them?" Thex asked bitterly. He was now the senior Quillex representative, promoted as the plague killed off more experienced politicians. That we were wrong? That we need them after all? That their primitive methods are actually superior to our elegant solutions? "We tell them the truth," Kex replied. "We made an error in judgment. We offer them better terms. Full council membership. Expanded trade rights. Seats on all major committees. Whatever they want." "Will they accept?" another counselor asked. "They must," Kex said. "The galaxy is falling apart." The first delegation arrived at Earth 3 weeks later. They came in a beautiful Valtrine ship, a masterpiece of engineering that could cross the galaxy in comfort. They brought gifts, formal apologies, and generous offers. Taemin received them in his office. He was polite, proper, and completely unmoved by their presentation. "Prime Minister Taemin," the delegation leader began, "on behalf of the Galactic Council, we formally apologize for our previous actions. We recognize that we undervalued humanity's contributions. We wish to invite humanity back to council space with full honors and privileges." "I see," Taemin said. The delegation leader hesitated. "Changed? 3 years ago, you told us our methods were primitive," Taemin said calmly. "You said our ideas lacked sophistication. You reduced our rights and privileges because we were too young a species to contribute meaningfully. What has changed since then? Have we suddenly aged thousands of years? Have our methods become more sophisticated?" "The situation has changed," the delegation leader admitted. "We face challenges that require immediate solutions. Your methods, while perhaps lacking in elegance, are effective." "Ah," Taemin said. "So, you need us now. That is different from wanting us as equals. We offer you equality," the delegation leader insisted. "Full membership. Everything we denied before." Taemin stood and walked to his window. Outside, construction crews were finishing a massive new orbital station. "Tell me something. When you dismissed us, did you think we would simply wait? Did you think we would freeze our development, hoping you might someday change your minds?" "We hoped you would reconsider your withdrawal," the delegation leader said. "We did not withdraw," Taemin replied sharply. "We were pushed out. There is a difference. And we did not freeze. We developed. We grew. We advanced. Would you like to see what we have accomplished in 3 years of isolation?" He activated a display. Images appeared, showing new human technologies. Propulsion systems that were faster than anything the galaxy had. Medical treatments that cured diseases considered incurable by galactic standards. Energy generation systems that were cheap, efficient, and safe. Artificial intelligence integration that made human computers incredibly powerful. Mining techniques that extracted resources with unprecedented efficiency. All of this in 3 years, Taemin said. Do you know why we advanced so quickly? Because we stopped trying to satisfy your committees. We stopped filing forms for approval. We stopped justifying our methods to people who called us primitive. We simply worked. The delegation leader stared at the display. This is remarkable. You are far more advanced than we realized. Yes, Taemin agreed. We are. And we did it without you. So tell me, why should we come back? Because the galaxy needs you, the delegation leader said desperately. People are dying. The Quillex plague spreads daily. Piracy is destroying trade. Colonies are being abandoned. You have the solutions. Please, help us. Taemin was quiet for a long moment. No. No? You did not want equals, Taemin said coldly. You wanted servants to solve problems you found beneath you. You wanted us to provide crude solutions, while you maintained your superiority. That is not partnership. That is exploitation. We offer you partnership now, the delegation leader pleaded. Too late, Taemin replied. We have learned to value ourselves. We do not need your approval anymore. We will continue developing on our own terms, in our own space, for our own benefit. The delegation left empty-handed. They were not the last. Over the next 6 months, 12 more delegations came to Earth. Each one offered more generous terms. Each one was politely refused. In space near Jupiter, Admiral Dong Hyun supervised training exercises for the new Earth Defense Fleet. The ships were incredible, faster, more powerful, and more efficient than anything humanity had built before. They used technologies that had been developed during the 3 years of isolation. Sir, we are receiving multiple distress calls from the Outer Rim, his communications officer reported. Pirate attacks, station raids. A merchant convoy is being slaughtered. Not our problem, Dong-hyun said. Sir, we could reach them in 2 hours with the new drives. The Valtrine fleet is 6 hours away. People will die. People are dying across the galaxy, Dong-hyun said harshly. People we could save if the council had not dismissed us. But they told us our methods were primitive. They told us our help was not needed. Should we ignore their wishes? The communications officer was silent. Log the distress calls, Dong-hyun ordered. Forward them to council headquarters. Let them handle it. But alone in his quarters that night, Dong-hyun listened to the recordings of those distress calls. He heard people screaming. He heard them begging for help. He heard them die. He had been a soldier for 30 years. He had joined the military to protect people. Now, he had the power to protect them, but was ordered not to. It felt wrong. On Earth, in her laboratory, Dr. Heejin developed new treatments, while messages from Thex piled up in her inbox. She did not read them anymore. She could not. Each one described more deaths, more suffering, more desperate pleas for help. Why do you not answer him? Her assistant asked. Because I cannot help, Heejin replied. Our government has forbidden it. But you could save them. I know, Heejin said quietly. But if I help the Quillex, 50 other species will ask for help, and the council will have learned nothing. They will continue to view us as servants who solve their problems while they maintain their superiority. That is not acceptable. There are. Her assistant looked at her with disappointment. I thought doctors were supposed to help people, regardless of politics. Heejin had no answer for that. Across Earth and human colonies, similar conversations happened. Engineers who could repair failing stations, but were ordered not to. Merchants who could service abandoned routes, but were forbidden from doing so. Teachers who could help alien students, but were told to focus only on human children. Humanity had the power to help. They chose not to use it. In the council chambers, Thex made an impassioned speech. My people are dying. Over 500,000 dead now. We know humans have the cure. We know they can help. But they refuse because we insulted them 3 years ago. When did pride become more important than life? The humans are teaching us a lesson, Kex replied tiredly. They are showing us the consequences of our actions. The lesson is learned. Thex shouted. We were wrong. We admit it. What more do they want? I do not know, Kex said. But until they tell us, we must find our own solutions. But there were no solutions. Not for the plague. Not for the pirates. Not for the failing trade networks. The galaxy spiraled deeper into crisis while humanity watched from a distance, safe and prosperous in their own space. The question everyone asked but no one could answer was simple. How long would the humans wait before they helped? The answer, as it turned out, would surprise everyone. 5 years after the humans left, a ship arrived at Earth carrying the entire Galactic Council leadership. They came, not in pride, but in humility. They came not with offers, but with apologies. They came because they had no other choice. Taemin received them in a conference room overlooking the sprawling cities of Earth. Through the windows, they could see orbital elevators stretching into space, massive shipyards, producing vessels of incredible sophistication, and the glow of fusion reactors that powered a thriving human civilization. The new Valtrine Chancellor spoke first. Prime Minister, we come to formally apologize for our actions 5 years ago. We were arrogant. We were foolish. We dismissed you because you were young, and we paid dearly for that mistake. The galaxy is in crisis. We need your help. I know, Taemin said simply. We watch the news broadcasts. We see the reports. Then you know that over 3 million have died from the plague, Thex said, his voice breaking. You know that piracy has made half the galaxy unsafe for trade. You know that colonies are being abandoned and economies are collapsing. And you do nothing. Taemin looked at Thex steadily. We do nothing because you told us not to. You said our help was not wanted. You said our methods were primitive. You reduced our rights and told us to stay in our own space. We respected your wishes. That was 5 years ago. Kex protested. We are asking you to return now. We offer you anything you want. Name your price. Name your price. Taemin leaned back in his chair. Anything? Full membership? Expanded trade rights? Seats on all committees? You offered all that 2 years ago. We refused then. What makes you think we will accept now? Because people are dying, Thex said desperately. Because the galaxy needs you. Is that not enough? No, Taemin said bluntly. The galaxy needed us 5 years ago. It needs us more now, only because you ignored that need. You did not want equals. You wanted servants who would solve your problems while you maintained your superiority. I will not lead my people back into that situation. What do you want then? The Chancellor asked. Tell us your terms. Taemin stood and walked to the window. I want the truth, he said. Why did you really dismiss us 5 years ago? Not the official reasons. The real reasons. The council members looked at each other. Finally, Kex spoke. Because you frightened us. In 400 years, you had accomplished what took most species thousands of years. You adapted quickly. You learned fast. You found solutions we had not considered. You were young and aggressive and confident. We feared that if we gave you power, you would eventually dominate the council. So we pushed you out before you could threaten our position. Thank you for your honesty, Taemin said. That is the first step. Now, here are my terms. We will not rejoin an institution based on hierarchy and age. We will provide aid directly to species that request it, bypassing the council entirely. Each species must ask us individually, admit they need our help, and accept our methods without interference. That would destroy the Council's authority. The Chancellor protested. Yes, Taemin agreed. It would. And perhaps that is necessary. An institution that values pride over pragmatism, tradition over innovation, and age over ability does not deserve authority. You are asking us to dissolve the Council, Keck said. I am asking you to reform it, Taemin replied. Build something new. Something based on merit, not longevity. Something that values results, not elegance. If you do that, humanity might consider participation. But we will never rejoin the old system. The room fell silent. Finally, Thex spoke. I accept your terms. On behalf of the Quilex people, I request your help. We need the cure for our plague. We admit we need you. Please, help us. Taemin looked at him for a long moment. Then he nodded. Dr. Heijin will return to Quilex IV with full authority to implement treatment as she sees fit. Your government will not interfere with her methods. Agreed? Agreed, Thex said immediately. Anyone else? Taemin asked, looking at the other council members. One by one, they accepted. The Marinthians requested help with the piracy problem. The Valtrine asked for assistance in developing faster patrol ships. Smaller species asked for help with trade routes, medical issues, and resource management. Only the Valtrine Chancellor remained silent. I cannot accept these terms, he said stiffly. To do so would be to admit that the Council was wrong, that our entire philosophy was flawed. I cannot do that. Then do not, Taemin said. But understand that humanity will help those who ask and leave alone those who do not. The choice is yours. The meeting ended. That day, 17 species formally requested human assistance. The Valtrine leadership was not among them. Dr. Heijin returned to Quilex IV with a team of 30 human doctors and full authority to operate as she saw fit. Within 2 weeks, they had established treatment centers across the planet. Within 8 months, the plague was cured. Over 50 million Quilex owed their lives to human medicine. Admiral Donghyun led a small fleet to the Outer Rim. His orders were simple. Eliminate the pirate threat. He did not use elegant tactics. He used human tactics. Fast, aggressive, overwhelming force, combined with unpredictable patrol patterns and intelligence networks that infiltrated pirate organizations. Within 1 year, piracy in the Outer Rim had dropped by 90%. Trade routes reopened. Colonies were resettled. Youngsik returned to space, running supply routes to the outer stations again. This time, he worked directly for the species that needed him, not through council bureaucracy. He made more money, had more freedom, and felt more appreciated than he ever had before. Sujin opened a new school on Altair 6, teaching mixed species classes again. But this time, she taught human methods alongside traditional galactic education. Her students learned that there were many ways to solve problems, and that youth could be an advantage rather than a weakness. The Galactic Council did not dissolve, but it changed. The old hierarchy system was reformed. New rules valued contribution over age. Species could gain influence by solving problems, not just by existing for millennia. Humans were invited to participate as equal partners in this new system. Taemin considered the invitation carefully. After much debate, humanity decided to participate, but only partially. They maintained their independence while cooperating on specific issues. They never gave the Council authority over human affairs. 3 years after his return to Earth, Taemin stood in a new chamber. This was not the old Council headquarters. This was the assembly of the Galactic Partnership, a new organization built on different principles. Representatives from 40 species sat in a circle, all at the same level. No thrones, no hierarchy, just equals working together. Bora, now Earth's representative to the partnership, addressed the assembly. I have been asked what humanity learned from our 5 years of exile. The answer is simple. We learned that we do not need anyone's permission to be great. We learned that our worth is not determined by others' opinions. We learned to value ourselves and to be confident in our abilities. She paused, looking around the chamber. But we also learned that strength without compassion is worthless. We watched people suffer while we had the power to help. That taught us humility. Yes, we can solve problems others cannot. Yes, our methods work. But that does not make us superior. It makes us different. And difference should be celebrated, not feared. A young Valtrine representative, part of the new generation that had pushed for reform, spoke next. You could have let us fail completely. You could have conquered us while we were weak. Why did you help? Bora smiled. Because that is who we choose to be. Humans are not defined by power or age or technological advancement. We are defined by our choices. And we choose to help, not because we need to, but because it is right. The session continued, discussing new challenges and opportunities. The galaxy was still healing from the crisis years, but it was healing. Trade was recovering. Medicine was improving. New technologies were being shared. The future looked brighter than it had in decades. On Earth, in his office, Taemin read reports from across human space. Colonies were thriving. Research facilities were making breakthroughs. The economy was strong. Humanity was confident, prosperous, and respected. Mi-sun entered with tea. Sir, Ambassador Bo-Ra reports that the partnership session went well. 3 more species have requested human technical assistance. Also, a message came from the Valtrine Chancellor. What does he want? Taemin asked, to apologize personally. He says he understands now why you refused to rejoin the old council. He asks if you will meet with him. Taemin was quiet for a moment. Send my response. Tell him I will meet with him. Not because I need his apology, but because he needs to give it. Mi-sun smiled. You have changed, sir. 5 years ago, you were angrier. 5 years ago, I was hurt, Taemin admitted. We all were. The council's dismissal felt like a rejection of everything we had worked for. But now, I see it differently. They did us a favor. They forced us to stand alone, to develop independently, to discover our own strength. We grew more in 5 years of exile than we might have in 50 years of trying to fit into their system. And now we are ready, Taemin said. Ready to engage with the galaxy as equals, not supplicants. Ready to help, not because we need approval, but because it is right. Ready to lead by example rather than by following others' rules. That is what it means to be human. Outside his window, Earth turned beneath the stars. Ships came and went from the orbital stations, carrying humans and aliens alike. Children of multiple species played in parks, learning from each other. Scientists from a dozen worlds collaborated in research facilities. Merchants traded freely, without bureaucratic interference. The galaxy had learned its lesson. Youth was not weakness. Simplicity was not primitive. Different methods were not inferior. And humanity, the young species that had been dismissed as insignificant, had proven that worth was measured not in years, but in actions. They had departed quietly when told they were not wanted. They had returned on their own terms, in their own time, in their own way. And in doing so, they had changed the galaxy forever. That was the human way. Not loud, not arrogant, not vengeful. Just quietly confident, compassionate when it mattered, and absolutely unwilling to settle for being anything less than equals. The Galactic Council had made a mistake. They had learned from it. And in learning, they had discovered that humanity was not the problem. The problem had been an old system that valued the wrong things. Now, with that system reformed, the galaxy entered a new age. An age where all species could contribute. where merit mattered more than tradition, where practical solutions were valued as highly as elegant theories. An age shaped, in part, by humans who had simply refused to accept being dismissed. The galaxy would remember this lesson for millennia to come,